good part about India is we have a amazing heritage around clothing. The amount of textiles that we have produced over the years and the craftsmanship that is there for textiles is very, very large, and it's spread across everywhere in the country. Right? If you look at every pocket of India, right, there is some special craftsmanship that has been created. Right? So you talk about the Banaras silk, and you talk about the Lucknow chicken, and then you talk about the Jaipuri prints. Yeah, these are all crafts, right, which have evolved over the years.
Hi, I'm Govind Agrawal from Anaxi Digital Runners. I am here to record IMA Podcast. We are here at Brilliant Convention Center in Indore. There is a big IMA International Management Conclave which is happening. I have a very esteemed guest with me. His name is Mr. Rakesh G. Biyani. Yes, the same person who was behind Future Group and have been pioneer in retail since last 33 years. He has been a person behind Pantaloons, Central, and Brand Factory, stores like that, and also brought brands like Lee Cooper, Skechers, Clarks to India. Right now, he's heading Nexon Omniverse Limited and mentoring creation and rapid growth of Style Union. You all must have heard about Style Union. It has almost 100 stores now across India, I guess more than 100 stores. So welcome to IMA Podcast, and we have Mr. Rakesh Biyani with us.
Thank you, Govind. It's my pleasure to be here at the IMA International Management Conclave. A very impressive setup here. It's my second time for this conclave. And it always surprises me to just see the scale of things that IMA has been doing it. It's really, really impressive. And I'm sure that the conclave sort of really inspires a lot of people, and which is a welcome thing. Right? So it's my pleasure to be here today with you.
Awesome. Thank you. IMA has always shown a lot of grandeur when they create an event, all the time. I was a student volunteer with IMA in 2003, and now slightly on the organizing side. So thanks for your kind words about IMA. I have a lot of questions to ask you. First is like, we as a company also do a lot of outreach. Like to give you an example, like Nagpur as a city has almost 5,000 plus clothing stores, right? There are like a lot of retail outlets selling clothing. What is difference between the retail which happens at those 5,000 stores in just one district or city like Nagpur compared to what you have been doing like for 30 years or 30 and more years?
So if you want to just focus on a business of clothing, I would say that in one way, each one of us, the 5,000 stores are in, let's say as popularly called the unorganized retailer and the organized retailer, or the mom and pop stores and the chain stores, whichever way you want to categorize them. All of us are ultimately providing a clothing to the customer, right? But for me, the way I look at clothing is an aspirational category. For many people, clothes define the person himself, right? And being creative is what clothing is, right? It's a creative expression that the designers put together, that the buyers put together, and that's the signature, right? And our job here is to sort of live up to the aspiration of the customer that we're trying to target, right? And our job is to sort of think through how we can sort of provide a better product to them, a better solution to them, based on the changes in people's lifestyles. Lifestyles are not standard, and lifestyles are not constant, and they keep changing. And that's what you see constantly happen as you see clothing brands evolve.
But is that consumer who is going to those 5,000 stores and who comes to your store, is there a difference, or it is just matter of choice at different point of time
I
during
think
their
it's a matter of
purchase?
choice at different points of time. And the fact is clothing is a necessity also, right? Everybody needs to have one, right? And of course, different people can have a different margin structures, and so they could have different pricing, right? It's a large universe of customers, and there has to be retail stores which will sort of cater. And this is not very unique to India, right? Across the world, that's the case. There's very rarely in clothing you'll find that somebody dominates a market, specifically in very large countries, right? In small countries, yes, you may have some retailers maybe dominating a market with a very large share, but in majority of the other parts of the world, in very large countries, the clothing business is always fragmented, and it's more to do with we can't have everybody has a very different take on the same product, right? And not everybody can carry the same shirt,
Right.
right? And that's the reason there can always be a much larger number of people not only producing these products, but also, of course, there'll be always a large number of people selling these products.
But do you see, it's like, the retailer, the small mom and pop retailer is mostly into reselling compared to somebody like you who have been rolling out their own private labels, creating your own designs. So, I will add a word reseller to those small pop and mom and pop stores compared to somebody like you who has a grandeur in terms of how you display things, you create your own brands. So you are not almost a reseller, if you can correct me on that, compared to those people who are mostly reseller. And what is the future, creating on your own or reselling somebody else production?
See, I think life is always about a supply chain, right? There is people involved in the supply chain. If you truly look at, in one way, anybody who is a private brand retailer would also be a reseller, right? In literal sense of the word, because somebody else is producing the product and it comes into the warehouse and it comes into the store. The difference could be that the private brand would have influenced the design that is getting done. Very rarely people who are doing own brands and own distribution would do the act of manufacture themselves. They would get it manufactured from somebody, right? So I think why does somebody build a private brand is because he wants to have exclusivity. He wants to have exclusivity that the product is not available easily anywhere else. And if he or she gets his design right, the customers believes that that product is only available at that store and it's not available outside. That's the reason you do a private brand. And what you're doing is sort of you're securing the business at your own store. That's the main thing.
Let's to do with margins.
In the process, when you're incurring that extra cost, you want to control the margin also.
Yeah.
Right. Plus, because it's private brand, the pricing is your control. You decide what price you wish to sell. You control the promotions. You control the experience. Right. So you can do a lot of things. But all of that, of course, comes with a lot of this extra effort can only be done if you intend to scale your business. Right. So if your intention is to scale your business and control the value chain, which is what a private brand retailer would do, then yes, a private brand strategy is a very good strategy to build around, right? But at the same time, there are more than enough people, who are very happy to sort of really participate in this value chain and want to have resellers in their lives, right? What that does is that it just hedges the risk across the supply chain.
So will you say that future is for private labels, or it's there's enough space for everyone?
I think in our country, for the kind of size and scale that we have, there's an opportunity for everybody, right? The people who are going to be the most successful are the ones who are going to sort of execute and in terms of in line with the aspiration of the consumer. They are the ones which are likely to be the most successful.
Would you like to guide new entrepreneurs, old entrepreneurs in this domain on how they should choose a brand? Like you brought bigger brands, international brands to India. How do you choose those brands? What do you look for? And guide somebody who's about to start a retail business, that how should they go about choosing the product and the brand, whatever you can answer.
When I looked at the brand that I have sort of, let's say, got from overseas, and I have had the opportunity to build brands in India itself, most of the brands that I got from overseas were in categories where a brand played a good role, right? So, let's say Lee Cooper as a denim brand, my belief is that denim is something people like, and having a heritage to it and authenticity to it worked very well. It helped you to sell the product at a higher price point. And Lee Cooper, which is a brand which was created in 1908, provided that heritage, provided that brand linkage, right? And thus we got them. If I got the shoe brands into India, is specifically on those sports shoes. Again, having a technology, having comfort parameters, having the research around it was an important element. And that's the reason one bought in a brand like Skechers or a brand like Clarks. Because these are products where functionality plays a critical role. And the research around the heritage around that, or the knowledge around that, is why we brought those brands to India. Uh, we're not a business that I ever built in sort of bring in a generic shirt brand or a generic clothing brand. Is not something that I would have bought ever from outside. I think that's a take that one can do very well within India. The good part about India is we have a amazing heritage around clothing. Right? The amount of textiles that we have produced over the years and the craftsmanship that is there for textiles is very, very large, and it's spread across everywhere in the country. Right? If you look at every pocket of India, right, there is some special craftsmanship that has been created. Right? So you talk about the Banaras silk, and you talk about the Lucknow chicken, and then you talk about the Jaipuri prints. Yeah, these are all crafts, right, which have evolved over the years. So we have our own touch, we have our own heritage, right? Why do I need to bring something from outside? Absolutely. I think our objective is to package them and present them in a manner which is more relevant to today's time. Right. And thus, I think there's nothing better than the opportunity that India offers. Yeah.
Okay, so in your current business at Style Union, do you focus on like Indian material, Indian manufacturing completely? Like, how much of that is in India? How much comes from outside India?
It's been a very good last 3 years mentoring the team at Style Union and building a business which is more relevant for tomorrow or to the young generation, or Gen Z as we call them now. And here again, almost 95% of the product that is sold at a Style Union store is produced in India, right? And it's produced from all over the country, right? I think a firm believer in the quality standards that India can produce, right? We have some of the finest cottons, and we have some of the finest man-made fibers in many.
As you have a lot of exporters also, right? Like Indore, Pithampur area itself is famous for exporting, manufacturing a lot of goods and then manufacturing for so many brands.
So I would say that, in Indore, one of my favorite businesses in terms of is the Pratibha Syntex Group, Shreyas and his team. Really passionate set of people, right? And do a fantastic job. One of the rare companies in that segment, in the kind of value chain integration that the Pratibha team does. Start from the farm and right up to the garment.
Okay.
Right? That's it's a very rare thing, right? And it's very much right here in Indore.
Awesome.
Right? I've had visited the factory a few times. Recently, my son came on board after his education, and I said to him, if there's somebody who can teach you the entire value chain, and you must come. So he spent a week with the Pratibha team. So I'm quite grateful to Shreyas
That's
to take him through the entire journey. But so I would say that almost everywhere in this country there is clothing. Yeah, even in the smaller towns. It started off from homes, and the skills exist everywhere.
okay. When did that internship happen? Like
Just earlier this month, in fact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just earlier this month. It was more about an introduction to. I couldn't find another example where the entire value chain could be explained.
Awesome. You should have brought your son here at IMA. Just for a recap.
So I think he has a lot more to learn right now. Hopefully, he'll appreciate that the amazing amount of effort that goes into make a basic T-shirt.
And has Biyani family overall has like dedicated themselves for this whole making retail easy, understandable? I compare you with how PayPal happened, and how they created a mafia of entrepreneurs. I feel that, Biyani family overall, Mr. Kishore Biyani, you and others, have made it very easy for Indian entrepreneurs and Indian businesses to not seek learnings from companies abroad, but learn from inside and still grow and become bigger. In fact, go international. Is that something in the blood now, or how is it?
I'd say that, uh, we're fortunate that we are living here in India in this time, where the country is going through a transformation. The economy is growing. People are getting a lot more money in their hand, and they want to live life for today, right? With all this young population, an average mean age of just 29 years. It's an amazing platform, right? So the consumption story is here to stay, right? And I think with the uniqueness of our country, and I don't want to sort of, and I think all of us know that, by default we are a country, but really it's a subcontinent. Yeah. And it offers its own complexity and opportunity, right? So, but I think the entrepreneurial spirit that exists in India will always make you do many more things.
Right.
We've tried to do that. We've got the opportunity, and we try to build many businesses, some cases. And of course, so many people get added to your ecosystem. And I know that a number of our suppliers, etc., have blossomed and have become much bigger. And I would say that, we were just the enablers. It's the hard work that each of those entrepreneurs does, which makes them successful. Right? So, and at the same time, over the years, so like hundreds and thousands of people have worked with the group. Many of them was their first job at retail, and they became as passionate about it. And some of them are running some of the largest retail corporations in India or consumer businesses in India. So it's been a privilege to being had the opportunity to build a retail business.
Yes, and that's the ecosystem of entrepreneurs. It's absolutely that's what really good entrepreneurs do. That they create companies which produces a lot of so many entrepreneurs. Same has happened with Flipkart also. A lot of people who worked at Flipkart started their own company later on.
I will say what happens
You generate these seeds.
I think there are 2-3 things, right? It's also about the opportunity that exists, right? In the retail, you touch every single customer, so you get a real sense of who the end consumer is, right? Unfortunately or fortunately, right? A retailer can't do everything on his own,
Right.
right? He needs an ecosystem of people to work together. It's called collaborative partnerships have to be created.
Yeah.
And that's the model, right? And that's what everybody does. And I'm sure that, there are so many other interesting retailers in India today, and each one of them is doing their bit. And that's what is required. But all starting from the end consumer. I think as long as the customer consumes more, it's quite.
You said consumer. I want to ask you, what is your definition of a D2C brand? It's so much hype about D2C brand, as if the concept is new. Do you feel D2C brand concept is new? Like you have been doing it for ages now, right? Like I think, what is this whole trend about D2C brand in any segment?
See, I think if you look at it, right, the enabling part, if you were a creator of product, right, before e-commerce came in our lives, before people could directly buy from you, the opportunity would have been to sort of go and supply in the value chain, and you have to either get distributor and then go and sell to a retailer, right? And each of those retailers could have filtered some of your creative work because they would decide what to offer or not to offer.
Yes.
Right. But with the e-commerce and in some form, we always knew that there are boutiques which run out of homes and which do participate in various exhibitions, and they were selling directly to consumers.
Yeah.
And there's no filter between you and the customer, right? So that's the only advantage of a direct to consumer. You're removing filters and you can continue to have a very creative expression.
But are you saying that if a brand is being sold directly online to a consumer, it's D2C, the moment it goes to an offline store, through a supply chain, it becomes like a regular brand. There's this D2C title.
So for me, my view to you is that, um, for me, the way I look at a business is a direct to consumer business does not have an intermediary in between which can filter the creative process. Right? If somebody said, okay, let's say we are into a manufacturing snacks.
Yeah.
Right. And we built an assortment of 100 SKUs.
Right.
Right. The retailer may not carry all 100. He will decide what he wants to carry. Right? So it's no longer a direct to consumer business, right? When you are a direct to consumer business,
you can
all
all
your 100 is on offer to the customer.
Okay.
Without any filter.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
That's what that direct to consumer business. That's it. So what that also does is the fact that moment the filter is out, right? You have a direct relationship with the customer.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to do. Right. So that's the reason it's a D2C is a very different business model. Right, as compared to participating in a value chain.
Yeah, that SKU example helps me, comprehend it better.
Absolutely, right? Now, I've seen it, right? You're producing 100 shirts, and this guy says, "Oh no, I'm going to take 30 from you, and I'm going to take 30 from somebody else." So it's not the entire offering, right?
Yeah.
Well, if your intention is to be direct to consumer, then you have freedom, and your success and failure is more about what have you thought about the customer, right? It's no longer about what somebody else filtered out for you.
Oh yeah, right.
That's the difference.
Right. So when it comes to this online offline sales, how do you see now this online world and offline world? You have been pioneers in offline. How much of your current business activities are around online compared to offline?
So I think this entire dialogue around online offline is not the right dialogue. It's a coexistence. Right? Everything has to coexist. There are consumers who have matured and who know what they intend to buy, and there are categories where the purchase decision making has become simpler and easier, right? Because you have knowledge on what you want to buy. Moment you have more knowledge, and when you have exact clarity on what you want to buy, online channel also is a good channel to make a purchase from. Okay, right? If you're unsure and you want to, let's say, touch and feel, and you want to see the product before you buy, then of course the offline channel continues to be relevant, right? So the channels coexist. We've seen categories like clothing. The online channel necessarily doesn't provide the same trust mechanism and comfort to the customer as compared to going into a retail store. You go to the store, you are able to see the exact color. You can you can touch the fabric, see the softness onto it, and of course you can try on the size, right? Which you can't do online. But at the same time, when you look at very, very generic boxed products like a mobile phone today, there's more than enough influencers to guide you in terms of what is the phone you want to buy.
Yeah.
I think people go with clarity. That's the model I want to buy.
So clarity of
Absolutely.
once you have clarity, you can buy online.
Why not?
At least in clothing.
So the channel will exist.
Yeah.
Some people don't have the time, so they say, I can't go to the shop. It's easy. Just let me call for it at home.
But what is the future? It's like,
I think
maybe
let me put it this way.
5 years,
5 years from now.
You've been also.
Okay,
doing a lot of
let's put, if I look at 15 years ago when online just started in India, right? 2007 when Flipkart started in India, and 2011 I think Amazon came in.
Yeah.
So all of those have been in existence for like almost 1.5 decades, right? Commentaries around 2016, 17, many of the offline retail stores should have become irrelevant by today, and the e-commerce should have been dominating the market.
Yeah,
which is not what has happened.
Okay.
Correct. I think e-commerce has a role to play, and it continues to play that role. Right. It's a lot of hard work to do there. Also, it's not so simple that I open a website and I'm in business. It doesn't work that way. I think you have to still create a proposition for yourself. In the meanwhile, retail stores have rediscovered themselves. They're offering more better experiences. They're offering more spaces, the better lighting, and they're becoming more attractive destinations to go and shop. Awesome. So the good news is the customer is the one who enjoys all of it, right? Always the winner is the customer. Okay. And now, of course, you have so-called quick commerce, right?
Yes.
Where things happen in with the blink of an eye, and the product is at your home.
Correct.
Right? It's an interesting service, right? Without a doubt. Okay? I think everything is here to stay, right? The restaurants continue to open, and yet for more and more home, the food is getting delivered home.
Yeah.
And yet kitchens are operational.
Like consumption is
Consumption is here to stay, right? That's the model. Consumption is here to stay.
right. Awesome. This was wonderful. It's like, I have a lot of questions, but I don't know, we'll run out of time. Thanks for your thoughts. This helps young entrepreneurs, existing entrepreneurs to, refine their thinking about retail and how to move forward.
Sure.
Thanks for your time for this podcast. Again, welcome to
my pleasure.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me here.